And if you want in the chat window, you can put any questions that you have, but I would love to invite you to put where you are from, okay? So to see where do we have our different families from. Also, if you can use the rename feature in order to put your full name, that will help us to be able to call you by your name when you ask a question or we want you to help us out. Okay, so let's see. So the agenda for today is kind of simple. All right, so we are going to talk about why teaching the right curriculum is crucial. And then we are going to talk about how we teach history at AHS Online and how we teach health at AHS Online. We are going to give the time to a couple of our teachers and learning coaches in these subjects, and they will show you some of the insights in these courses. And sorry, and we want to dedicate a lot of the time to answer your questions. Okay, so let me share with you something that I think is very important, kind of to give us a context of. Let me see. Can you see my screen still with the scriptures now? Okay, so why is teaching these subjects so critical at this time? In the Book of Mormon, in Mosiah chapter 10, we have here a brief description of the historical curriculum of the Lamanites. Okay, so let me read this. It says, this is Zenith, okay, describing what he saw from the Lamanites as he was living among them. And remember that Zenith was one of the Nephite leaders that wanted to go and live in the land of Nephi, and he actually saw the good in these people. He didn't want to destroy them, he actually wanted to see if he could live with them, okay? But this is how he described the curriculum. It says, they were a wild and ferocious and a bloodthirsty people, believing in the tradition of their fathers, which is this: believing that they were driven out of the land of Jerusalem because of the iniquities of their fathers. Okay, so they actually believed that Lehi and Nephi and their fathers were bad people and they were driven out of Jerusalem, and that they were wrong in the wilderness by their brethren. So Leman and Lemuel were wrong, something that Nephi and Sam and Joseph and Jacob might have done, and they were also wrong while crossing the sea. And again, that they were wrong while in the land of their first inheritance after they had crossed the sea. And all this because that Nephi was more faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore he was favor of the Lord, for the Lord heard his prayers and answered them, and he took the lead of their journey in the wilderness. This last part, of course, is Zenith describing what Nephi did, okay? Not Zenith, okay? Oh, there, sorry, it went to the previous chapter. Okay, let's go back here. All right. And his brethren were wrath with him because they understood not the dealings of the Lord. They were also wrath with him upon the waters because they hardened their hearts against the Lord. And again they were wrath with him when they had arrived in the promised land, because they said that he had taken the ruling of the people out of their hands, and they sought to kill him. And again they were wroth with him because he departed into the wilderness as the Lord had commanded him, and took the records which were engraven on the plates of brass, for they said that he robbed them. Okay? And thus they have taught their children that they should hate them, that they should murder them, that they should rob and plunder them, and do all that they could to destroy them. Therefore they have an eternal hatred towards the children of Nephi. This is the effect that you have when history is taught the wrong way. Okay, and you can see here that the Lamanites had this attitude towards the Nephites because they were taught that their parents were iniquitous, that they had been wrong, that Nephi stole the plates and took the other people out and the ruling of the people and so on. So this is a critical importance of being able to have a correct curriculum. Okay, and lately, of course, in the news you have seen how history has been really under attack. Okay, you know, revisionism, postmodernism, all the critical theories, the 1619 project and so on, all are in a very real way attacking the foundation of American history and the way that we that our children are being taught history. What do you think will be the effect of that in future generations? Very, very important, really. So that is why this is a crucial topic. As far as health goes, one of the things that I can share with you is not too long ago, one of my sons-in-law was telling me that he was meeting with his therapist here in Utah, and she was saying that therapy among men for fear and anxiety and depression has skyrocketed since 2001. She doesn't know exactly, this therapist doesn't know exactly what happened and how it is that this occurred, but around that time was the time when all these health concerns started literally going out of this world, skyrocketing, really. So health is also now a very, very important part of the curriculum, of something that we need to be able to teach carefully to our children. Now I'm going to turn the time to Miss Merrill to help us see how we do history in the high school, how we are going to highlight last year's course on history.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I am really grateful to be here, and I'm actually very grateful for those scriptures that you shared with us, Dr. Pablo. I actually just used the very same scripture with my children this last week, talking about the same topic, and how important it is that we don't focus our learning of history in the frame of hatred. And so what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about some of the guideposts that I use in the history course development and then just show you an example of a lesson that we did last year so that you can see the format. So let me share my screen. And I hope you can see a screen that says Words of Mormon.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so again, these are just some of the guideposts that I use as I'm thinking about how to present material in the history curriculum. If you, from the Words of Mormon, I take this quote that when he is discussing how he's deciding what to include in his historical document, because as you know, Mormon was not only a prophet, but a historian. And he says, I cannot write the 100th part of the things of my people. And that is definitely true of history. There is so much to know, and there is so much information available, and everything becomes so complex that it can be difficult to know what to include. And every historian, every history teacher probably has a bias toward what material to include and what not to include. So did my audio just go out, or can you hear me still? Okay, okay, good. Okay, so from Mormon, the Words of Mormon, he talks about how he chose what he's going to include in his historical record. He focuses on prophecies and revelations. He focuses on the workings of the Spirit within him. He offers prayers for his brethren to bring them to a knowledge of God and the redemption of Christ. He also includes, he says in this chapter, he's going to include the plates of Nephi. This is an example of using primary sources, right? So he uses this in the Book of Mormon. This is something that we try to do in our history courses at AHS Online, is to make sure that we're using primary sources so that we can get the words directly from those people that experienced the events that we are discussing. So primary sources that are choice unto me and my brethren. So it's not just the plates of Nephi where he includes primary sources, but in other places in the Book of Mormon, he takes directly from the records of other prophets' writings. So that's one of my guideposts. We can't include everything, but the things that we do include need to be choice unto me and my brethren, meaning the students, and with a prayer for them to bring them to a knowledge of God and the redemption of Christ. My second guidepost is from Doctrine and Covenants 59:21. This one is really important to me, and it frames a lot of my life, but it says, in nothing doth man offend God, or against none is his wrath kindled, save those who confess not his hand in all things and obey not his commandments. So I really focus on this part, to confess his hand in all things. This is something that's almost revolutionary in the study of history, is to look at it from the framework of how is God intervening in history, while allowing for the free agency of his children, and knowing that we're usually going to mess things up somehow or other. So these questions that are listed here on the slide kind of help us to know exactly how to look at the events of history in terms of confessing God's hand. We think about how the events contribute to the expansion or contraction of liberty. And I think what's really important to notice here is that it's not that we avoid talking about the difficult and unattractive things about history. We don't avoid talking about racism and slavery and other violent things that happened in history. Those are not left out, but we try to look at them from this framework. Did the event help prepare the way for the restoration of the gospel? How does it relate to the dispensation of the fullness of times? How does the event prepare the way for missionary work, family history, and temple work? How does it affect families? Does the event demonstrate the hand of providence in history? How did the event set the stage for subsequent events? Or how does the event show the consequences of prior events? How did it shape the world and culture we live in today? And does the event show opposition to God's plan? Does the event reveal one of Satan's counterfeits or deceptions? So those are just some examples, but to me, the important thing to focus on is that we use this as an opportunity to confess God's hand in all things, that he has been involved in the lives of his children on earth from the beginning. He still is today. And when we look for those patterns in history, we can gain confidence that he is still with us today and that he will not abandon us. So let me just go to a quick example of how the history courses are set up. I just want to show you an example from last year, and this is what the classes this upcoming year will look like, although we'll be focusing, instead of on world history, we'll be talking about the founding era of the United States history. I should ask, I wasn't sure, Dr. Pablo, if you were going to address this beforehand, but have we already, do you want me to go into any detail on the 4R method?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, I'll see if I can do that. Okay, so the lessons are all in Canvas, so when they open their screen, they will see, they just have to scroll through the material. They read some of the material, they will watch some things by video. Each of the lessons has objectives. So this one, as an example, just talks about the things that they need to know by the end of the lesson. This will include what they do, and this focuses on more of the spiritual or gospel principles that are addressed. So the 4R method, if you're not familiar with it, starts with researching. And researching is where they gain the knowledge that they need about the material. So in this particular lesson, there's a couple of maps and videos and PowerPoint presentations that talk about this part of history. So they just view and read these materials. And then they have, like I said before, there's the primary source documents. We always try to include these, the primary source documents, so that they can read the actual words of the people that were involved in these times of history. In this particular lesson has two different research sections. So there's research part 1 and research part 2. Again, this is just presenting the material on this historical period. And after we go through all of that, sorry, I'm going through it quickly. In this case, they have a quiz. They just click on this, which will allow them to take a quiz on the material that they've just covered. The reason section follows. Reasoning is the opportunity for the students to reason out the principles that they can learn from the material that they've been studying. In this case, we're talking about imperialism. So what is it we can learn from imperialism that is a principle of the gospel? And in this case, I included excerpts from a BYU speech from Neil A. Maxwell, where he talks about cultural imperialism of the secularists. And then the relate section, I apologize, I am trying to get through this very quickly, so you may have more questions, but relate section is where you take that principle that they have derived from the material and they relate it to themselves. And how is this important? So if we recognize the things that happened in history, in imperialism as an example, what does it mean to us and how do we apply this principle in our life? And there, in this case, we have several scriptures and quotes that I'm asking the students to ponder as they determine how they can apply this principle. Then we finally get to the record section. The record section is where they do something with the knowledge that they have obtained and the reasoning that they have done. This is usually some sort of written assignment. And in this case, this is just, I'm just going to show you this as an example. There are so many different ways to do assignments, but this one, they are given the opportunity to analyze some political cartoons from this era, and then we give them instructions in Canvas of how to do it. So there's an attached worksheet that they would fill out online. The instructions tell them what to do to analyze these 3 different political cartoons that are included here. Or they can choose to do something different. They may choose to draw their own political cartoon. So this would appeal to a different type of learner, someone who is an artist or enjoys doing that kind of thing. Doesn't have to spend as much time analyzing, but they can make another choice and draw their own. And then it explains how to upload and submit that material. And then it also gives them a rubric so that they can review that and decide how what is going to be important for them to accomplish in this assignment. So anyway, so that's it. This is the research, reason, relate, record. The 4R method is used in every lesson. They go through each section on the Canvas platform, and they submit their assignments through there. So that, and those are the guideposts that I've used. So that's where the history is presented in the online course. So do you have any questions for me, or do you want to come back to that later?
Okay, so let's go now. So what I would like is to invite anyone who has questions. You can write them in the chat. Okay, we will answer them at the end of the presentation. But so if you have a question, don't forget it, and you can write it now there in the chat window. All right. So now let's switch and go to health to take a look at the health course that we have developed. All right, and we'll let Miss Viewer share her screen and share the health course. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello everybody. I have enjoyed looking at your names on the chat bar and seeing where you're from. A little bit of a fun fact. I feel like I have a little bit of a connection with some of you. A few years ago, my family and I spent about a year road schooling. So we're familiar with homeschooling, and we took that leap and we traveled the country. So I stayed in some of your areas for a few weeks at a time. So I feel like we have a little bit of a connection. So anyway, I'm really happy to be here with you. Let me share with you my screen. I got to get to my screen here. These are the joys of doing things online. Now I have to try and find where's my screen? All right. I'm going to scoot this over real fast.
The joys of Zooming.
Yes, I know. I must be out of practice. Let me try this one more time. There we go. Okay, are you with me? Can you see, it should say timeline and one whole day. I can't see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Okay. We can see your screen fine. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's just start here. I just want you to see this picture and think of this this picture and the scripture that talks about being made whole. And when we talk about health, we're wanting health for the whole body, for the whole mind, for the whole spirit. It's a combination, it's a package deal. And when I'm going to see if I can pull up the, there we go, the video panel. I feel like I'm talking to the wall if I can't see the video panel. There you are. Okay. So this morning I was on a run. I was up in the mountain, and I was pondering how I wanted to present this this topic tonight for you. And the funny thing is I stopped to catch my breath and I pulled out my phone. So here, we'll just do a little demonstration. Pulled out my phone and I was trying to do some notes, you know, where you talk to your phone. And I was thinking about the idea of being whole, and I wanted to communicate that we have a holistic, not just because that's a nice word in education, but because it's the way our Heavenly Father wants us to be. He wants us to be whole. And so that's our whole approach to health, is how can we be whole? And the answer is, I have faith in Jesus that He can make me whole. When I tried to tell that to my phone this morning so that I would remember tonight, for some reason, Siri could not understand the word faith. No matter how many times I tried to say faith, Siri could not type it out for me. It was faith or something else. And I was like, this is it. This is the problem with the world. We're so unfamiliar with faith anymore. Siri doesn't even recognize it. So, but that's what I want to point out too, is that this course is different because faith is part of it. And I'm gonna stop screen sharing for a minute, but that gets risky. So I'll just talk like this for a second. So the health course has 4 main focuses, and there's so many topics that are included in each term, but I have loosely organized them, with first term being faith, meaning it's like foundations. So that's where we're going to learn things like discernment, right? Discernment has to be one of the top things that we learn, because that allows us to know what's true in all of the information that there is about health, about body image, about all of these topics. So discernment is one of these. So those types of things are in term 1. Those are our foundational topics, including things like relationships, beginning with faith. I have a relationship with God because I am a child of God. I am a spiritual being having physical experiences. So we start with that relationship, and then we move from there, and our relationships with others. Term 2 is the main focus is on food and how nutrition impacts our health. And we break it down into things like, oh, there we go. Thanks, Pablo. He's kind of showing you some of the titles, the lesson titles. So breath is actually in term 2, where we loosely call it food. Basically, it's talking about how do we fuel our bodies. And we try to get as basic as we can, because God has provided for us the basics to have healthy bodies. And so we start with breath, we go through water, and anyway, we go through, and then we talk about some of the terminology here is taken from the Word of Wisdom, because as I know I learned in my study of Doctrine and Covenants, section 84, the Spirit and the Word of God is truth, and then we take that. So where God has given us some insight into our physical bodies, we try to incorporate that as much as we can. Term 3, the main focus there is fitness, and let me take you over. I'll let Pablo run through this, and then I'm going to take you over to an example, just so you can see how I try to teach things like fitness. And then the final term is fortitude, and it focuses on gaining skills of resilience. And throughout every term, they are required to kind of do a crescendo, a graduating, they're gaining skills, throughout the term. So for example, in term 4, where we focus on resilience, they start a resilience kit right at the beginning of the term, and they add to it throughout the term, so that by the time it's their final, they have at least 50 things in their tools of resilience, so that they can have a kind of a launch pad into real life, that was where I put my heart and soul as a developer into this course, was how is this going to impact the children of God, this this youth battalion, how is this going to impact them for the rest of their lives? How is this going to help them? Okay, so let me show you my screen again. Another thing we try to do in the health class is make it personal. So I've tried to make videos and assignments that really personalize it, so that it's not just information that is not going anywhere. So let me show you this little example. I won't show you the whole thing, but it'll give you an example of just what your student might see. And I might look ridiculous, but that's okay. We're going for impact here for your.
Then you'll be able to tell in my voice what's the change. The
All right, let me give you a little background here, and then I'll do a full screen. So this lesson, I'll go up here to the top. I think this is cardio. It's a lesson on cardiovascular exercise. Why is it important to have healthy veins? We do go through the 4Ring, research and reason. And so what I'm doing in this video is I want them to see for reals, what does that even look like? So what I've done is I've walked up to the mountain by my house. It's not a fancy video, but it is going to demonstrate to them what I want to see in them. So when they are wanting to get their heart rate up, what's their voice going to sound like? What's their breath going to sound like? So let me give you a little bit of and let me just tell you, I got out of breath faster than I thought. So I lost my train of thought. a little
changes my voice because my oxygen intake, I'm looking for more oxygen. So as we go up, in fact, I'll go up this hill right here. I'll turn around so you can see what I'm going to be going up. There's a slight hill. There's my dog. There's Copper, and Rusty's over here too. He's a little bit unpredictable, as we know. So here we go, up the hill. So as we're going up the hill, let's just talk a little bit about the perceived rate of exertion. 0 to 1 is basically I'm doing nothing. And then as you start to exert yourself a little bit, you're going to go into the zone of 2 or 3. This is a steeper hill than I expected.
There we go.
So I'm already exerting myself. As you can see, I'm starting to get a little bit more breathless. My voice is starting to change a little bit. And if I go up all the way up this, that's going to be quite hard for me. Maybe I'll do it. What you want to do is go for the 5 to 6 range. That means you can still talk. You can carry on a conversation, but you're going to sound a little breathless, like I'm starting to sound right now. If I go to the top of this, let's see if you can see it behind me. It's so hard to demonstrate, like, in most recommendations they say, get at least 30 minutes.
Because I was getting a little more breathless than I wanted to. And then let me show you how I tried to tie that in.
Of cardio exercise. That's a magic number. It's kind of like when you're,
Back up a little bit.
When you're using it, get at least 30 minutes. The magic number, 60, is a little bit more breathless because I have to stop to continue this conversation. So 30 minutes is the magic number. 60 is awesome, and that's what some recommendations say, but for most people and most recommendations, they say get at least 30 minutes of cardio exercise. That's a magic number. It's kind of like when you're using a key to unlock something and it's just that last push and then it's unlocked. That's what happens with this type of exercise. If you do the intensity high enough and the length long enough, it's like turning that key to unlock the benefits inside your body, specifically the mental health benefits. All right, see?
Okay, so then I just go ahead and talk about, yes, my oxygen is returning, and I kind of quit stalling, and then I go up the mountain and we talk again a little bit. In these types of lessons, I'm hoping that they learn, not just through the information, but through example and actually seeing that I do actually go outside and walk, and this is what happens to me. It's not, you don't just have the think system and have that work for you. And then the assignments are almost always including an application. And as a health course, we want to work closely with parents. If, of course, your child is not capable of having some sort of physical exertion, then we would modify. And we would talk together as learning coach and parent to do what is best for your child. And so we would try to harmonize that relationship. In fact, let me show you this one right here. This is also part of the term on fitness, where at the beginning of the term, they do all of this. It's like a baseline fitness test. And I don't care how good they are. I don't care anything. They just are required to do it. And then I think 2 or 3 other times throughout the term, they do it again. And I don't care how they do it, as long as they do it, but I do hope for improvement. And so we try to encourage, you know, if you did 12 sit-ups before, did you do 12 and a half this time? Did you do 13 this time? And there were some really, really neat experiences. One example was from a student who, I also tried to talk about how what we do for a healthy body, it's not necessarily for ourselves. It's for God and for our ability to serve others. And yes, it helps us feel good, but when we feel good, we're more likely to be good and serve in others. And so we had talked about that, and a student who had been doing this fitness thing throughout the term, she noticed that she was getting stronger in her upper body. And she told this story about how excited she was because she was with her family doing some event, excuse me, and somebody, I think it was, I think a little child had climbed a tree, couldn't get down, and was really scared. And she said she used her newfound upper arm strength to hurry, quickly get up the tree and save the little child and get back down. And she had no idea before that she could provide that service to somebody, but she felt so empowered and she felt strong just through doing a few simple things like this. So that's our hope, is that we don't just sit at the computer, we take it into real life. All right, let me walk you through one of the lessons. You see how it's set up. Sorry, my bar's in the way of my window and I can't see it. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the anxiety lesson just a little bit, just for format's sake. And then I will show you another very brief video, because it will show you some of the things that we do throughout the course. So it's kind of an all-in-one opportunity for you to see a little bit more of what the course is like. All right, so you can see I'm looking a little scared there, but you know, we just roll with it. Okay, so some of this is similar to what Heather said about the history class as far as format goes. But this is just a little bit different. So you can see there's the objectives, our research section. In fact, we could all do this together. It's always more fun to participate, right, than just to watch. All right, so maybe some of you have seen this before, and maybe, I don't know if I can make that bigger. I can't make it bigger. Hopefully that's good enough for you. And I want to know what you see, and I am even going to be brave enough to call some of you out. So take a look at this, and I want to know what you see. Let's see, I see Teresa. Is it Teresa or Teresa Jacobs?
Teresa.
Teresa, will you be brave and tell me what you see?
I kind of saw two things, but the first one was a face of someone looking to the left.
Okay, fantastic. Will you raise your hand if you saw something different than a face looking to the left? Will you raise your hand if you saw something different than a face? It makes it really hard for people who have a black screen. I can't tell.
Abby.
Oh, I've got somebody. Okay, Linda, what did you see? Are you able to unmute? Here, let me see if I can unmute you. I can't unmute you.
So we have Abby Rollins and Linda Mates with
Linda, what do you see?
I see like someone in a big coat and they're going into the dark.
Okay. Yeah, you know, that's what I saw too. That's what I saw too. And so, Teresa, you saw what I didn't see. And until it was pointed out to me, I just couldn't see it at all. So now, hopefully both, as far as I know, there's only 2 options here. Go ahead and speak up if you saw a 3rd option, but as far as I know, there's only 2. So let's look at that one, and then let's look at this next one. And the same thing. What do you see? Teresa, you were awesome, but I will not call on you again, so you're off the hook. Okay, what do you see? Okay, how about Bobby? Do you see something that you can share with us? This is high pressure because now I'm expecting everybody to like get off of the, you know, unmute ourselves and things that maybe we don't want to do.
Paula Watson, you have your hand raised. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I can't see everybody. So yeah, whoever has their hand raised, I would love to know what you can see.
I see an upside down puppy.
You do. That's so cool. And who was that said that?
Paula. Walton.
Walton. Okay. And if you do not see an upside down puppy, what do you see? Somebody else, what do you see?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I see like a scruffy old man with a hat on.
Good. There you go. That's what I saw too. And that's what Pablo saw. Okay, so some of you also saw that. And for the life of me, I could not see the upside down puppy. But for some of you who want to see it, if you could flip it upside down, it would be a little easier. The nose is a bone, holding a bone. Anyway, I just want you to experience a little bit what this is like for the students. So this is a lesson on anxiety. What does this have to do with anxiety? Does anybody have an idea? All right. If you want to just start talking, I can't see everybody's screens right now.
Is it on how you see things?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And if we had more time, we'd have a discussion, right, about this. And the best that we can in an online format, we try to invite thought, and then we discuss things a little bit. There's a follow-up video after this where I try and discuss things. And then when we meet together once a week for our classes, that's when we can discuss things and say, what did you see? What did you see? I can't believe that. And then we can even bring in some other things like that add more depth and hopefully grab onto what sparked their interest and go a little deeper. So yes, this was about your perception, because sometimes anxiety is about a perceived threat. And so your brain reacts like you can get nervous, you can get physical symptoms because your brain is perceiving something that might not be there. And so it's perceiving danger, it's perceiving a threat. We go through, there's some videos to watch, and we try to do some comparisons. We try to provide examples of real life things so that they can make decisions and understand what the difference is between what's normal anxiety and what's a problem or a disorder. The video I want to show you down here is the one that will highlight a few other things that we have done throughout the course. And I have tried to create the course so that it builds on each other, so that by the end, it is a whole course. And I'm not in any way saying it's perfect, but it has been, we're trying to have the spirit, so hopefully the spirit can fill in any gaps that exist. But this was a lesson that was done towards the end, and here's some of the things that we did there. Let me make that full screen for you.
The mental toughness program that the Navy SEALs developed incorporates 4 things that we have already used this course. So I'm going to review those with you, and hopefully you will remember practicing those, and it will refresh your mind and inspire you to practice those skills again. And I would encourage you to put these in your Tools of Resiliency kit. All right, the first one was goal setting. We did goal setting a few times, but specifically in the first term final, when you did your vision board, you had a short-term goal and a long-term goal. And so that is breaking the vision you have for your life into smaller chunks, which of course you would need to break those down even into smaller and smaller chunks in order for even the shortest term goal to happen. Which brings us to the other activity we did, which was the habits, tiny habits, forming tiny habits. And number 2 was visualization. And the habits assignment in the final, you had to include a picture of yourself doing the habit the tiny habit that you wanted to incorporate, or a picture representing that. That's visualizing that's a form of visualization where you can see yourself doing it before you have done it. And so it's almost like you've practiced it before you try to do it the first time. The other one is the 2 roads visualization that we did about food. If you can remember, there are 2 paths to take. There's one with the knowledge that you have, and then there's one disregarding the knowledge that you have. And if you can visualize yourself taking the different paths, and I know it's not always cut and dry, it's not always black and white, but it is a lot more, we can be a lot more intentional sometimes than we are. And so visualizing your ability to follow a certain path is going to help you in your decisions if you use that skill. The third skill was self-talk. In the beginning of the health course, you researched what you identify with as your skills, your strengths. Using those words will help you when you are feeling kind of anxious. If you remember that you have strengths and those words are going in your mind, then you will be able to conquer whatever it is. If it's a real challenge, a real danger, a real threat, then that's going to help you. If it's just anxiety and your mind's just kind of turned up, keyed up, it'll help you to kind of step back and realize everything's okay. I've got these strengths, and you can talk to yourself that way. Again, we don't talk to ourselves necessarily.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop that there. Hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the things we've done through the course, how the course is set up. The final thing I wanted to show you was, as we continue to work through this lesson, you can see that the students have opportunities to do some matching activities. I woke up 10 minutes late, my day is ruined. What type of mental, how can you reframe that distorted thinking? So you match the scenario with the thinking that is happening. So they have the opportunity to do things like that. And then we relate it to a gospel principle at the end, which is sometimes it can be, I wouldn't say the most, but it can be significantly meaningful for students, especially if it brings in the Spirit, because the Spirit is the best teacher. Their assignment is as a quiz, which sometimes there will be quizzes mainly to reward the students who work through the lesson. Occasionally we'll have students who don't even want to look at the lesson, they just go straight to the assignments. So by providing assessments that require them to work through the lesson, that helps to reward them. But the most meaningful assessments are the application ones. And so let me show you this decide to decide assignment. In the lesson, it talked about sometimes we get anxiety because of indecision. And so they were encouraged to just simply decide, make some decisions so that you never have to make those decisions again. And I wanted to show you some of those. Learning from home is awesome, and it allows for a lot of creativity. So this is one of the students. He chose to do it on a sword. He just put his decisions on a sword. So his decision that he never has to decide again, I will graduate college, I will get married in the temple. Let me show you this other one. This one, they got extra points for making a small version of their decisions. to go either in a wallet, or they could also do it like on a, I'm not seeing, I must have closed that other one, as a as a screenshot. Anyway, make it like a wallpaper. I don't know if I have that anymore. Anyway, so those are just a couple examples of types of assignments that we encourage. We also encourage them to reach out to family members and friends. There's a lot of assignments where they are encouraged to do something with a family member or to do something with a class member, because in health, we learn how important connection is. And I know Heather and I both have been homeschool or are homeschool moms, and we understand how important it is that your student has opportunities to connect with students and with others. So there's a lot of assignments where they're encouraged and expected to do it that way. So that's what I have for you about the health class.
Thank you so much, Ms. Merrill and Ms. Buer, for sharing with us your classes. And you know, these classes have been very important for the students. We have received a lot of positive feedback from the students about their courses. But you know, both the history courses and the health course have been probably the most significant in their reach to the students. Okay. Now we are going to open up the time for you to ask any questions that you may have. All right. So if you want, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question, or type your question in the chat, and we'll go from there. One thing that I wanted to mention was that health is a required course in many states. Okay, so many states require the students to take a health course during their high school year. And so this health course could be one of the options that you can consider your children taking from us, instead of taking from the public school system or some other source. And now you know more about the content of the course and how the course is organized and so on. Ms. Pulsifers here, she says, I am so excited for my children to learn history with your guideposts. In fact, one of my children was wandering by and said, you can learn so much better by learning this way. Thank you so much for your time and preparation. Yes, that is one of the main differences that we see in how the students, when they learn history, being able to analyze the events and look for the hand of God in the events of history, seeing how those events further the plan of God or hinder the plan of God, and they can relate those lessons of history in a greater scheme of things is very, very impactful. Janelle Williams asked, will we be able to access this webinar after it is completed? Yes, I'm recording it, and we will post it and send you an email with the recording as soon as it's processed. So probably that will be tomorrow morning. Okay. So any other questions that you may have? So let's see, it is my understanding that all ages of high school students, freshman to senior, take the same classes together. Is that correct? Yes, for now that is correct. So we are kind of still in the development mode years, and so we are basically having all the middle school students taking the same classes together, and the high school students taking the same classes together. The only classes that are basically necessarily level to where the students are is math. So the students take their math class at whichever level they are in. But all the other classes, we basically take them together. We haven't seen any problem really for that. Okay, it has worked actually very, very well. Abby Rollins asks, is health available as a MyPace course or just a live course? It is available both ways. Okay, so the MyPace is the same course, is the same curriculum. Miss Viewer is the coach for the courses, okay, both the live course and MyPace. The only difference is that the students can basically complete the lessons at their own pace. Some students go faster, some students go slower. And they still meet with the learning coach. So we are still encourage and expect the students to schedule a one-on-one coaching session with the learning coach at least every other week. All right, to review the progress and get feedback. The only difference is, again, that the students progress at their own pace and they don't have to participate in the live class. So that's the difference between one and the other. Does the math curriculum have to be Saxon? So the math curriculum that we offer now follows the Saxon scope and sequence up to Algebra 2. We are now, this year, we are offering a pre-calculus course that basically the content of the course follows the BYU Independent Study coursework. Okay, so that one does not follow the Saxon math curriculum. That is pre-calculus. But from Math 7 to Algebra 2, we follow the Saxon Math Scope and Sequence version 3. Okay, the third edition. Steve and Natalie Hess are asking, is the family studies class going to be taught in future years as well as this year? That is our hope. Okay, so our hope is as we complete the development of the courses that we will then be able to start offering all the courses every single year. Okay. So Ms. Pulsifer says, I am so grateful for the health class taking a holistic approach to learning about the whole body. It seems empowering. It's very positive. We have had so many so much feedback from parents and students about the positive life-saving impact that this health course has had. It is really, really important. That is critical, really, in this time. And it's such a positive and beautiful way of looking at health. In the health class, does the mental health section include strategies for dealing with anxiety and depression? Ms. Buer?
Absolutely. And we decided to focus most of our time and assignment expectations on strategies and application. So for example, the depression, there's a whole lesson on depression. It does cover depression and suicide, and we tried to handle that very sensitively. The assignments focus more on depression prevention and reduction. So yes, that's my focus as a developer was give us tools, give them tools. So yes.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if I would say the most important part, but a very, very important part of how our courses are designed and taught and carried is having not just the content of the course and the assignments, but having this one-on-one relationship between the learning coach and each one of the students. Okay, these one-on-one coaching sessions are invaluable. They are so critical and beautiful, really, because they really allow for the students to be able to connect with the learning coaches, ask questions, receive feedback, set goals, modify the course if necessary. It is all about a personalized experience, really. I don't know if you want to add more about your own experience, Ms. Merrill and Ms. Buren, on these one-on-one coaching sessions.
Sure. Yes, it's my favorite part, really, because that's where you get to know the individual student and understand what their strengths are and where they need help. They're really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just add the coaching sessions that I had where a parent was also there, those were very, very impactful, significant, because the child, I think, or the student can realize all of this exists. The education, the program, the learning coach, the parent, everybody is there for that student. And I think that when they can feel that support, it helps them and motivates them and gives them more of a sense of direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we encourage and invite you to participate in these one-on-one coaching sessions. In fact, you can schedule one-on-one coaching sessions anytime with any of your learning coaches. Okay. Janelle Williams is asking, for those students who are new to this method of online schooling, is there a school study skills class or a way to learn what technologies require and how to use it before school starts so they can be ready to go on the first day? Yes, so we are actually creating, we are refining a course called AHS Foundations Methods course, okay? And we are still trying to make it better, and our plan is to make this course available to all the new students as they come to the school. But on top of that, what we are actually doing is the first week of school, we call it week 0, okay? So the whole first week of school is going to be about precisely this, about learning for each one of the classes, what are the technologies needed, how the class works, make sure that the students know how to log in, schedule the first one-on-one appointment, doing everything that is needed for learning the ropes of the online school. So the first week of school, there's not going to be any other assignments except scheduling the one-on-one coaching session for the first part and making sure that they can log in to any and all the softwares that the class is required, okay, for the student. And so that is week 0. And then week 1 is when we start actually with the first lesson. Mm-hmm. All right. So the Hess family says, with how close we are to the starting school, are there any classes that don't have enough students to hold the class? Okay. So far, I need to verify. This is a very good question. Okay. What happens is that if we have less than 10 students in a class, we basically cannot carry the class. All right. So as far as I could see, the only class that we are probably not going to be able to carry is German, okay? we didn't have enough students sign up for German, and actually I haven't been able to find a German learning coach. Okay, so I'm going to have to invite those who sign up for German to consider one of the other classes. We have Spanish and French, okay, or some of the other elective courses. Also, you know, in the middle school, we had some of the core classes scheduled at 9 or 11 or 1 p.m. And as far as I could see, we haven't had enough students sign up for the 1 p.m. class. So we are going to also probably not have that section of classes offer at 1 p.m. and ask the students that sign up for those classes to move into the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock. Okay, but those are the only ones that I could see so far not carrying. Okay, let's see. Teresa Jacobs, can you take 1 to 2 classes, or do you enroll in all of them? This year, actually, we are offering the possibility for the students to enroll full-time, okay, in the full-time program and taking 7 classes or 7 credits during the year, or doing the a la carte program. If you are looking for your students to progress through school, basically, and follow a path to graduation with AHS Online, then we strongly suggest and recommend the full-time program, because that is what is going to keep them at pace in order to graduate. If that is not the objective, or if you are planning to do some other things, you know, having classes in some other venue and so on, you can choose to enroll in 1, 2, 3, 4 classes in the a la carte program. And the a la carte program comes in 2 flavors. You have the live, where the students participate in the live classes with the other students, or the MyPace program, where the students can go independently. Okay. So let's see, one more question. Is there still room for a middle school student or a high school student to take a full schedule? Yes, there is still room, and we encourage you to continue moving forward through the admissions process, to get the enrollment all done and the classes selected. And also, we want to invite you to share this with family, friends, ward members, other people that may be looking for other alternatives to their children's education. Okay. To be very, very frank and sincere, we are about halfway there from our goal. We are a little bit over halfway full, both in the middle school and high school. So we still have room for all the filling up the classes, and we want to have as many students as possible. Okay. So a full schedule is 7 classes, right? Yes. So it would be math counts as one of the classes. Again, the students take math on their own with the support of the learning coach. And then we have some what we call the required classes. History, literature, English are the required ones. I would probably include, science and so on. And then we have elective classes like health, the foreign language classes, Spanish and French, computer science, okay, and so on. Those are some of the electives that we have. We have also some very interesting electives: the artistic performance, athletic performance, and experiential learning course. These courses are kind of like choose your own adventure, or get credit for things that your students are already doing. So if your students are in a soccer team, or they are learning piano or ballet, or they want to learn some new skill, they can sign up for these courses and receive a high school credit for that. Okay. So, is it possible for a student to take more than 7 classes? It is not advisable. Okay. So, we really would not encourage a student to take more than 7 courses at the same time. Each course is designed for the students to think, to basically spend 3 to 4 hours of individual work doing their lesson, studying the material, completing the assignments per course per week. Okay? So if that is done in a very efficient manner, that is about 20 to 24 hours of independent study time. Okay? To that, you need to add 1 more hour for the coaching sessions with the learning coaches, and then about 6 more hours for the live classes. And so that is a full school schedule. Okay, so that is where I would certainly not recommend more than seven classes at the same time. Okay. Is there anything available from AHS Online for voice music lessons? Okay, so in these classes, the artistic performance and the athletic performance, we do not provide the lesson for we don't have a voice teacher or a music teacher or a violin teacher that gives classes. You are basically doing that. The student is doing that with their own teachers, and then they meet with the coach. Our courses are basically designed similar to the youth and children's church program of setting goals, then being accountable to their progress on their goals, and then reporting on their progress. Okay, so that is how it goes. So if your student is taking voice lessons, the learning coach here will be able to help the students set up goals of what they want to accomplish during the school year, and then being accountable through the coaching sessions of their progress, and then doing some sort of final celebration where they show how they have progressed. Okay. When will the learning coaches for the artistic performance elective be contacting us as to what our project instrument is going to be and setting up a plan? Okay, so I'm finalizing the hiring of the learning coaches, and we are going to start at the beginning of the school year. So about August 23rd is when you will start seeing the coaches contacting you for all the a la carte courses. Okay, excellent. Will Deborah Bonner be doing more with American Heritage Online like she did over this summer? We certainly hope so. Okay. We don't have any specific plans with her, but the conversation is ongoing. Yes. Excellent. Good. Are there any other questions? You have all been very, very patient and helpful, okay, with your questions and your participation in this webinar. and we really appreciate your interest in American Heritage School Online. And we have loved meeting many of your students already. I enjoy grading all the admissions tests very, very much, so I get to know pretty much everyone. So I really appreciate that. Okay, I have another question. Our daughter is interested in taking a debate class through Wasatch Independent Debate League in addition to the full schedule. Do you think that might be too much? I do not think so. In that particular case, okay, so we want the students to be able to do some extracurricular activity, okay? So that would be actually a very good way of channeling that interest in doing that as an extracurricular activity, okay? But I wouldn't want to put too much more on her, okay? Yes. All right. Thank you for all your questions, and I'll be sending you then the recording as soon as I have it uploaded. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. I don't see any other question, and we appreciate you. All right. Okay, Miss Merrill, Miss Viewer, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.